Jennifer from Fiber Flux. Welcome to week 4 of the 2018 Fiber Flux Spring Crochet Along. We are making the Springy Stripes Blanket. It's a corner-to-corner classic blanket, and we've made quite a lot of progress. So just to recap, for week 1, we did an intro through the project and the supplies needed. Week 1, we started at the bottom corner and worked our way up and learned how to do a corner-to-corner increase. For week 3, we brought our square back in and learned how to do a decrease to finish off our square shape. So today, for week 4, we're going to do the finished work of our blanket, and we're going to learn about some fun embellishments you can add to your blanket to kind of give it a fun finished look. So we're going to start by weaving in some ends. Then I'm going to show you how to make a few things that you can decorate your blanket with. So in each corner of your blanket, you can do either a multicolored pom-pom, incorporating the colors that we've used for the blanket. Now I've done the pink, white, blue, and purple, but of course the colors that you've used for your blanket. So we can learn how to do a multicolored pom-pom. We're also going to learn how to do a solid pom-pom, which is slightly different. And we're also going to learn how to do a tassel. So however you want to kind of adorn your blanket, there will be a little tutorial for each one. I can't wait to see your finished blankets. Keep sharing those in the Fiber Flux CAL group in Ravelry. And as always, use the hashtag Fiber Flux CAL to share on social media. So let's get started. Okay, so for today's tutorial, you're gonna just need a pair of scissors and a tapestry needle. Now I picked a kind of a larger one because our yarn is, I wouldn't say chunky, but you'll want something that has the eye of the needle is large enough to send the yarn through. And what we're going to be doing today is 3 different ways you can embellish your blanket. We're going to do a multicolored pom-pom, a solid pom-pom using one of the colors, and then a tassel. And then at that point, it'll be up to you, whatever you'd like to pick. But before we begin, we're going to weave in our ends. Now, our blanket is completely crocheted, but if you did striping like I did, you'll have some ends. Even if you joined a new yarn ball and didn't do striping, you'll have at least a few ends. So when you're weaving in ends, let's grab this purple one. You'll want to weave in the end of the corresponding color. So I'm going to go ahead and thread my tapestry needle. And then I'm going to go and weave it into the purple section. If we went into this white section here, the purple yarn would show and it wouldn't look as nice and neat. So just stick to the purple section for the purple tails and so forth with all the other ends as well. Okay, and then I'm just going to come back in the other direction and grab your scissors and just trim. I always like to come back in the other direction. It helps to keep the end from popping out as you use and wash your blanket. It's not completely foolproof. Sometimes they will pop out, and then you can always grab your tapestry needle if you see one and weave it back in, but it does certainly help a lot. So just go in through the stitches, just like that, and pull it through, and then come right back in the other direction. Another tip for weaving in ends is to, sometimes I'll go in between the plies of yarn. So instead of going up under a loop like this, I might go through the strand of yarn in order to really get it nice and snug and woven in, okay? So you're just gonna go through your whole blanket and repeat weaving in all the ends. So let's move on to the embellishment of our blanket. Now our blanket is a square, so we have 4 points on our square. And so I personally am going to put a pom-pom on each one of my points. Now I did buy an extra ball of the pink yarn in order to do this, but I'm going to show you how to do a multicolored pom-pom and a solid. It's very similar except for the way you wrap the yarn. So let me grab the yarn and we'll rejoin in just a moment. Okay, I went ahead and grabbed some yarn. Let's make our solid pom-pom first. So let me just scoot this blanket out of the way a little bit. Get all these ends. I'll take the time and weave the rest of them in later. But what we want to do is grab our scissors. We can scoot this over. Okay, so let's take a piece of pink, and what we're going to do is cut a piece of yarn about 12 inches or so and set it aside, okay? Then what we're going to do is grab our pink yarn and we're just going to be wrapping it around our hand. Now, I know there are pom-pom tools out on the market that you can certainly use, but I'm going to show you how I like to make pom-poms. I like to just use my hand. Okay, and for your 4 fingers that you'll be wrapping the yarn around, you can adjust the size of your pom-pom depending on how many fingers you wrap the yarn around. So if you want to make a little tiny pom-pom, just go around 2 fingers. If you want to make a larger pom-pom, go around all 4. Now if you want your pom-pom to be bigger than this, you can take a piece of cardboard, a larger piece of cardboard, and wrap it around. But I'm just going to make mine using my 4 fingers, okay? So we set our 1 strand of yarn aside. We're going to use that in just a moment. But we're going to make the yarn come down the front of our hand, and we're going to just start wrapping around and around. And we're going to get a nice bundle. So that was about 3 wraps. We're going to get a lot of yarn onto our hand, okay? So I'm going to keep wrapping, and then we'll rejoin in just a moment. Okay, so I've wrapped my yarn around my hands about 150 times. I have a really nice full bundle here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut the yarn. So now I have 2 pieces hanging down. Just try to keep those down towards the bottom. And then this part, you'll want to do very carefully. Now the tools do help for this part because they kind of keep everything locked in place. There's no risk of it coming apart. But what you can do is take the bundle and very carefully slide it off your hand, keeping that center hole all lined up, okay? So lay it across your strand of yarn. And honestly, your strand of yarn could be a little bit shorter. I like to just cut mine nice and big, about 12 inches, so that I have plenty to work with. Okay, so I laid it down, and now I'm going to tie the yarn right down the middle and just pull it nice and snug. Now, the name of the game here is getting it really, really tight, okay? Now, you don't want to be super, super tight because you could break the yarn and then you'll have to kind of start over. Okay, so I'm just trying to get a really nice, tight knot, okay? So don't let go of these yet. Hold on to your 2 strands. And now we're going to have this like kind of flat bundle looking thing, okay? So grab your scissors. Now, I use these a lot as my yarn scissors, these little embroidery scissors, but you'll want a nice, sharp, large pair of scissors because you're going to be cutting through a lot of loops. So go through and just cut all the loops out of your bundle until there's no more loops left to cut. Okay? So you're just going to go all the way around and just kind of, sometimes you might have to like dig them out a little bit, and you're going to get lots of crumbs. Now you can use these little yarn crumbs to make stuffing for pillows and amigurumi and anything else you might need some stuffing for. So just look for all the little loops. You might need to sort of fluff it out a little bit and look for them. There's some in here we need to take care of. Okay, a few more. All right, just make sure you get all those loops. Whoops, there's a few more right here. Okay, and then just kind of fluff it out so you can see, and it will reveal some more loops if there are some kind of buried down in there. Okay, so now if we look at our pom-pom, it looks a little crazy. Definitely not the pom-pom look that we're after. So what we want to do is at this point, we're going to give it a nice haircut. Now, if you want a denser pom-pom, there's 2 things you can do. You can do more wraps around your hand to actually put more yarn on your hand. And when you give it a haircut at this stage, you can also take it in a little bit farther. So if you take it in closer, it kind of makes it look a little bit denser. So when you make a pom-pom like this, you're in full control of how big and how dense you want it to be. Now, if you're using a pom-pom tool, there are different sizes as well you can do. And as a side note, I do have a couple of pom-pom tools. If you want to see a demonstration of how to do that in another video, please let me know in the comments below. Okay, so our pom-pom is getting a nice little haircut. And see how I'm fluffing this? What we want to do is fluff it out, and it's going to do one of two things now. These plies of yarn that are twisted will start to like open up a little bit, and it'll get like a denser, fuzzier look, which is good. It'll fill it in. And then it'll also reveal some long strands that might be we didn't get the first pass at this. Okay, so we just want to kind of get all those strands nice and uniform, and it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. As you use your pom-pom or your blanket rather, this pom-pom will get fluffier as these plies sort of uncurl. Okay? So, just shaping this up. And this, as you can see with my 4 fingers, it makes a pretty nice sized pom-pom. Okay? Alright, so let's fluff this up one more time. It's kind of like a push and pull. You just fluff a little, trim a little. I find pom-poms really fun to make. I really enjoy making them. Okay, so our pom-pom is looking pretty good. And now let's make a multicolor pom-pom. I'm going to move along a little bit quicker this time just to, because we do now have the basic idea. But I'm going to show you if you want to incorporate the colors of your blanket into one pom-pom. I'm going to show you how to do that as well. Okay, now once we have our solid pom-pom, let's move on to, we're going to incorporate all the colors of the blanket. I figured we would do 2, but then I had all the yarn balls sitting here and it looks really cute. So let's cut another piece of yarn about 12 inches long and we'll put it aside. I have the white, the purple, we have everything here. So to make a multicolor pom-pom, it's the same principle, but instead of just doing the one strand of yarn down the front of your hand, you're going to grab all of the yarn you want to include, and I like to just kind of line it up on the table like this and pick it up and then lay it down the front of our hand. Now for our solid pom-pom, we did about, hold on, I see a little long piece. We did about 150 wraps, so we're going to do less wraps this time. We're going to do about, let's say 25 or so, because we have 4 strands of yarn this time, so it's going to get much thicker, much quicker. So let the yarn spill down the front of your hand, and we're going to wrap it. And I'm going to keep wrapping, and we'll rejoin in just a moment. Okay, so once you're done doing your wraps, you can give it a cut. Same thing we did before with your strands. We can move all this other yarn out of the way, and we're just going to do the same thing. So lay your yarn down on the table and just slip your hand out of the bundle, lay it down nice and neat, just go a little slow on this part and kind of crisscross it. The whole time we're going to be holding this down in place because we don't want it to shift at all. I have to say as a side note, this pom-pom looks like a unicorn pom-pom with all these unicorn colors. So we're just going to get a nice tight as we can knot with that, and then we have the same bundle we had before. Okay, and we're just going to do the same thing we did before. Just cut all those loops out of our pom-pom here. And again, if you want your pom-pom to be smaller than these, just wrap them around less fingers, okay? So we did all 4 fingers again. Okay. I did do less wraps because we had more strands. So this one will be maybe a little bit smaller. So if you want a really, really dense pom-pom, just wrap it as many times as your hand can handle. It's definitely not an exact science. Okay. Okay, and then I see a couple more loops here. Okay, so that is how you do a multicolor pom-pom. you're just doing the same, it's the same idea, we're just wrapping multiple colors around our hand, okay? And it looks really cute against our blanket. It's very much like confetti. And again, we did some less wraps, so it does yield a little bit of a smaller pom-pom. Okay, let's get all these little clippings out of the way, and we're gonna do the third part of our tutorial. If you are more of a tassel person, then stay tuned for the next part. Okay, I'm going to make an aqua colored tassel. So there's different ways to make tassels, and there are also fancy tools to make tassels. I, again, like to make them just using my hand, and there's different looks too. You can have some that are, it's just simply folded over and wrapped many, many times around. We're going to do it a little bit different. So cut 2 pieces this time of yarn, 12 inches long. And set those aside. We'll just put these up here. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is grab the yarn, and it starts off the same way. We're gonna wrap the yarn around our hand. I'm gonna go around all 4 fingers, make the tail come down the front, and then go around and around and around until you get a nice bundle. Once again. Okay, so I wrapped my yarn around my hand about 50 times, and then I'm just going to cut the yarn, leaving a tail hanging down the bottom once again. As a side note, if this is about the height that our tassel will be, we're going to give it a little haircut along the bottom. But if you want yours to be a little bit taller than this, then grab a piece of, once again, grab a piece of cardboard or a book. You can wrap it around a book or something like that, something sturdy. But it'll be generally the height that you're wrapping it around, unless you want to, you know, trim it in a little bit more to shorten it. Okay, so what we're going to do this time is grab one of the strands of yarn that we cut earlier, and we're going to send it in through the loop. We're not going to pull the loop off just yet, or the bundle rather, off of our hands. And we're going to send it across the top. See how it goes like that? Now, kind of pinch it and slip it off your hand. I will say as a side note, if you're not wearing a ring, it makes it a little bit easier. It seems to want to get caught on jewelry. And then we're just going to tie the top nice and tight. You want to get your knots nice and tight, and even if you want to add an extra, perfectly fine. Okay, so we have a little bundle tied at the top. Next, we're going to take our other strand of yarn, and we'll lay it across the table once again. This is very similar to the pom-pom. And then we're just going to kind of smooth it all out and lay it so that the first, I would say, third of it is across the top here. And then what we're going to do is same thing we did with the pom-pom, just tie it. We're not going to tie it in the middle like we did with the pom-pom. We have about the top third here, okay, give or take. Okay, and then we're going to tie it really, really tight. Make a nice, sturdy, secure knot. Then you might want to kind of straighten all your strands out here. Okay, the next thing we're going to do before we trim these loops off the bottom, see how when we tied it, this one sort of sticks up? That's not going to look as nice once we get our tassel finished. So grab your tapestry needle and just thread it and send it right through the middle of your tassel, just to kind of get it to lay down a little bit nicer. The other one is usually fine. If that one's sticking up, you can do the same thing. Mine isn't, but I'll do it anyway just for demonstration purposes, and just send it right through the middle there, okay? So that will get everything nice and pointed down, okay? So then we don't want to cut these off. Leave those on there. And we're going to turn our tassel upside down and hold it like in a fist like this, and just cut all the loops from the bottom of our tassel. This is definitely my favorite way to make a tassel. I normally don't use any tools, and it's super quick and easy. Tassels take a little bit less time because you're just trimming it flush. Okay, so once you got all of your loops, you might want to like comb them a little bit with your fingers just to get everything nice and straight. So you have a couple clippings falling out of the bottom. Flip it back around, and we're going to give it a haircut. So all these, again, leave these intact. That's how we'll attach it to our blanket. And slide your hand down a little bit and just get everything, careful not to cut yourself, but get everything nice and straight. Give it a nice straight little haircut. Now, once again, like the pom-poms, these plies, as you use your blanket and launder your blanket, the plies will come apart a little bit, and that's fine. That'll add to sort of the fluffiness of the blanket. Okay, so shake it out. See if there's any clippings that fall out or long pieces. You might have to sort of touch it up a little with your scissors. Just like that, okay? So now your tassel is ready to attach and the pom-poms are ready to attach. So let's tackle that next. Okay, so I grabbed one of the corners of my blanket down here, and all of these are pom-pom, pom-pom number 2, all have 2 yarn tails and our tassel, okay? So they all attach the same exact way. I'm going to show you how to attach the tassel because there's an additional little step that you can add to the tassel to get it nice and neat, okay? Plus, the bottom is pink, so I wanted to do a little contrast here. But I have to say as a side note, I'm really loving these multicolor pom-poms at either end, or at each corner. So anyway, what we're going to do is grab our tapestry needle, grab one of the strands off of your tassel and just thread it. Now go into the bottom point with the yarn, just that bottom. You'll want to go in more than one loop because one loop off of this blanket would pull it out and distort it. You want to go through at least 2 loops, but not too far in either. So kind of on the edge, but gather when you take your needle in, go in at least 2 loops with that. Okay, so then what we're going to do is tie the yarn. I'm going to give it 3 knots. Get it nice and secure. Okay, so once the tassel's on there nice and secure, you can grab your tapestry needle and go ahead and thread one of the tails. You'll have 2. Now, if we weave it into the pink area, we run the risk of it showing through you know, a blue line going through our work. So with the tassel, what you can do is just bring that tail back down through the tassel like that. Similarly to how we did when we tied this middle section. And then do the same thing for the other tail that you have. And run that right through the middle of the tassel as well. Okay, and then with these 2 long pieces, you can just trim those flush to the rest of the yarn ends, just like that, okay? So then your tassel has been added on. Now for a pom-pom, it's similar. I'm going to show you how to do that as well if you want to do the pom-pom option. So what you'll want to do is grab one of your pom-poms, same thing, and let's grab this multicolor one. This one turned out really cute. Is go ahead and thread one of the tails, and we're going to get that fuzz off of there. We're going to go in one of these corners. Now again, try not to go through just one loop. Try to take it through a little bit more than that. And then what you're going to do is just tie that pom-pom right on to the corner like that. And then what you can do with a pom-pom tail, it's similar to the tassel, is just take it through the middle of the pom-pom. Just kind of shimmy it in there if you need to. And then you can, whoops, and then you can just cut that yarn flush to the other yarn ends as well. And then repeat the same for the other one. So whether you do the tassel option, let me grab that end. Whether you do the tassel or the pom-pom, they both look really fun. And honestly, all along I was thinking I was going to do pom-poms, but I might actually add tassels to mine. I haven't decided. So that is how you add the finishing touches to your blanket. And also hop on over to the blog tomorrow where I will be sharing the big reveal of the whole blanket. I will photograph it and lay it out really nice and pretty, and you can check out the finished photos. And I'm still a little undecided about tassels or pom-poms, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to decide and share that in the big reveal tomorrow. So I'm really excited that I've been seeing all of your blankets and keep sharing those photos. And also in a couple of weeks, you can hop over to the Fiber Flux blog to see the schedule, but we're going to have a maker gallery. So what you can do is share your work, and I'll make a video, kind of slide show video to show everybody's work off as well. So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming up in just a couple of weeks. I'll give you a little bit more time to, you know, finish your blankets, because a blanket is a large project. Also, if you haven't joined the Ravelry group, I'll put the link down below for that, but that is the Fiber Flux Crochet Along community where you can ask questions, you can show off your work and get help and things like that. So have fun stitching up your blankets, and I will see you over at the blog tomorrow for the big reveal of the blanket. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.